You better shut them down with your defense because you're not going to score a lot because you got a guy like Peter Welsh back there with the big O too.
Yeah, and you know, Otterman and Welsh, probably the top two guys in terms of a tandem in the tri-state. Welsh is going off to Duke, so he will play lacrosse in college for Coach John Danowski. He's more of a long stick midfielder though, and I think he'll start transition for Del Barton. They have some young studs on the offensive end, and I think the trigger for that offensive game from a defensive standpoint is Welsh and his ability to play wings and generate some offense.
You like low-scoring games?
No.
Horrible, right?
No. I like, you know, a 13-12 game to me is ideal.
Really?
Yes.
What's the longest lacrosse game you ever took part in?
This year I did Hopkins, Ohio State. It was 4 overtimes. I've watched a game that was 7 overtimes, Maryland versus Virginia, about 5-6 years ago.
What's the longest one you played in?
Played in, I don't know. I've been hit too many times.
Really?
Yeah. Why? Do you know?
No. I'm just trying to figure it out. How difficult is it? And listen, we've talked about it. Goalies are different type people.
I lived with one quick.
And I have a son who's
you
one.
know the drill.
So they're either off the chart insane, or like my son Brian is very quiet.
You're 100% correct, and it's funny you say that. My brother, I kind of morphed into a normal person, but growing up he was off the charts insane.
Yeah.
But you find that the demeanors are either like you got to check their pulse, and I talk to college coaches too. They're like, "Oh, I love this kid because nothing rattles him," or we have to temper him a little bit, or we have to kind of manage the way that we treat him because he's crazy.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. It's one or the other.
You know, as we sit here taping this, I'm actually doing some work for my son. I'm watching this guy's team right here, and I'm trying to see who's good, who can bring it, where they're shooting, and because I was so excited when you said your top 2 goalies in the preseason from the Tri-State are from Connecticut. I'm like, that's incredible. Kark watched my son Brian.
Hey, he's got the year to prove it. He's got the year to prove it.
But you know, you have been on these guys the last couple years for sure. Grant Lamone, and what I like about Grant, you don't see a lot of basketball kids play lacrosse.
And you don't see a lot of basketball kids play goalie.
Yeah.
But it helps with his feet too, because he's 6'3", but the way he moves in the cage for a big guy, it's exceptional. And he's a space eater too. He's going to Loyola, and he'll be trained by one of the best goalie coaches in the country. Head coach Charlie Toomey was an All-American goalie at Loyola. He does such an amazing job of maximizing the talent of the kids playing in that position. I think Lamone already has great technique. He'll dial that in even a little bit more, but for now, good luck scoring on him when you're playing Weston, because I think this kid's that good. He's a space eater too. He brings up so much of the cage, but I like how you brought up the basketball too, because he's got the light feet.
Believe it or not, the best goalie in the city of Norwalk is not at Norwalk High. He's at Brian McMahon, Josh Miller.
Miller, we've talked about this kid for a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I love this kid's toughness too. I think mentally he's there.
I love the way he
communicates. He barks. I've watched him play a bunch. I had the good fortune of watching him over a 3-day span in the summer 2 years ago, and I just loved his demeanor. When he got scored on, it was next play. And it was hard to score on him too, because I just thought that he was so dialed in. He's aggressive at the position. Sometimes that hurts him a little bit too, because he just wants to make that save and he wants to attack the ball, where sometimes you want to be patient when the ball's spinning around. But make no mistake about it, Miller is a stud. His ball stopping skills, his toughness, he's a little bit different, less of a technician than Lamone. I think he's more of just the old school stopper who kind of goes off a reaction.
Take me back, let's say 1991, and you're watching 2 guys do a lacrosse thing like this, talking about some of the better players in the Tri-State. And it's early, it's still freezing, it's windy, it's like football weather, and you're watching it, and he doesn't mention your name. How upset are you?
I'm upset, but to be quite honest with you, I say one thing: I'm going to prove this clown wrong.
See, I love it.
And that's just been my mentality my whole life. I mean, and I think, look, like I said before, this is a preseason type show. It doesn't mean anything. We're working off of what you've done, not what you're going to do. And it's really all about moving forward and making plays. Now, it's great that we recognize some of these kids for their accomplishments, but this doesn't guarantee anything for any of these kids that we mentioned today. But there will be a slew of kids that we didn't talk about today that we'll talk about at the end of the year, and that's the beauty of sports.
And rips. Crowley off the face-off. And just like that, Darien turns defense into offense. DeSimone, quick stick in front goal. Go ahead goal. Manhasset. Look at McKenna going to work. Army versus Navy. Jardy puts the face off. Likes to shoot off the drum. Munoz lefty shot, puts it in. Ray shoots on the run. Here's a chance. Tancredi stepping into one, unloads and scores.
In a game and a sport that is defined by team play, on this night right here on News 12 Varsity, we honor the individuals. It's our 2017 Boys Lacrosse All-Metro team. Jimmy Cavallo, Mike Kinney, Dylan Butler. Gentlemen, not an easy team to crack. Okay, this is a long process. We don't do it ourselves. You guys have spoken to a lot of coaches over the course of the last week, and this is a team that we take very seriously, Mike.
Oh, yeah, you have to take it seriously. There is great, not good lacrosse, there is great lacrosse in the tri-state. The best lacrosse in the United States resides in the tri-state, and we're trying to sift through that to find out the best guys.
So many prime timers, Dylan, to choose from. It's a difficult process, but as we said, you talk to the coaches, you do the best you can, and these are great reflections on some great individual careers.
No doubt, and you know, I would ask the people at home, after you watch this show, go and check out our second team and check out the honorable mention, and you just see those names and you see the colleges that they're committed to, and you realize what kind of a list we're talking about. Just to make honorable mention is an incredible honor.
And a difficult team to pick. That's a great
Absolutely.
point. Difficult team to pick.
And to see the honorable mentions, well, go right here to news12varsity.com. It's available right now, the honorable mention list, which is an unbelievable team in and of itself, because this is a by-position team when you go first and second team for all Metro. But the honorable mention, guys, a spectacular array of talent. You can check it out now right here on news12varsity.com. So here we go. All of the state titles have been given out. Darien has been crowned our #1 team in the Tri-State Top 20. All that's left, the Oscars, the Emmys, right? The Tonys. And a little later on this show, you will meet our Player of the Year. Talk about a difficult decision. There's only one in the Tri-State, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. Hundreds and hundreds of schools. Our Player of the Year still to come. But we start this show with the second team. We'll go to the attack line, and we will start in New Jersey. And Mike Kinney, when you think about Seton Hall Prep, you think about Brian Tevlin. What a job.
You know, here's a kid who's been a regular player for several years for the Prep. Always a corporate guy, always a guy who does what he can to help the team. Like we see this year, he had 55 assists to set a school record.
Yeah, he joins Brendan Nichtern from Massapequa, the senior attacker heading to West Point. Tevlin is going to Yale. And Andrew Robbins, what a story he was out of Ramapo High School in his senior year, committed to Lafayette. But when you think about Tevlin, Mike Kinney, I mean, just great numbers, great skills. That's why the Pirates had a great year.
Such a balanced kid. You know, he can score. He's got a laser shot. There's no doubt about it. But what he does, he looks for the open man. He does the next one. He finds guys open. He gets it right into their cross for easy shots with their hands free. When not, though, when they don't slide to him, he's a danger. He will score. There's no doubt about it. You know, he's such a great team player.
Tevlin and Seton Hall Prep were the only team to beat the TOC champion Green Wave of Del Barton. Brian Tevlin, second team All Metro. Brendan Nichtern, oh man, Army tough Dylan Butler out of Massapequa, just a baller.
Absolutely. Look, he makes a seamless transition from the midfield to the attack this year. 48 goals, 45 assists. He's a bull with ankle-breaking first step on that split dodge. He helped lead the Chiefs to a county title they hadn't won in the past 2 years. They beat Farmingdale. He scores a hat trick against Farmingdale to win that chip.
I feel a lot safer with Nichtern heading to Army, baby. What a ride for Brendan Nichtern. Back to New Jersey we go. Andrew Robbins and Ramapo made history, Mike. They won a state title. They won a game in the TOC. And Robbins, boy, you want to talk about a guy embracing his senior year.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I love this kid, the way he plays with such energy, with such passion and such fire. I said he's a rare combination of ferocity and fluidity when he scores. He can put him in the cage, but more than anything, he's a hog.
These three guys, Robbins and company, Ramapo wins their first state title since 2007. Tommy Albano, so proud of the work of Andrew Robbins. We continue 2017 All-Metro second team attack out of the state of Connecticut. Logan McGovern, first-year starter, put up ridiculous numbers. Did the junior attacker, committed to Bryant, and then back over to Strong Island. The Mac attack, Kevin Mack, Manhasset High School, committed to Michigan. And Dylan, when we see Logan McGovern play this year, this guy has the feet of absolute dancers. You know, we've seen Minikis wear the number 4, but just watch the guy behind the cage terrorizing the poles.
He was such a huge part of Darienne's run to an undefeated season, a state title, and you mentioned it, yes. The feet, they never stop moving. You see right there, just as you said, he could be dancing with the stars.
You're so right, man. I always tell people the game of lacrosse starts with your feet, and Logan McGovern is the definition of that. An absolute steal for Bryant. He's just a junior. Back to Long Island we go. Kevin Mack, the Manhasset Masher. Catch and finish, that's Mr. Mack.
Michigan-bound senior stepped in for the injured Jack Keogh this year and not only became Manhasset's top scoring threat, one of the best in that position on Long Island. 35 goals, 28 assists. He had 6-1 against St. Anthony's early, and he also set up Stevie Schneider's late winner in the Reeves Rock game against Chaminade.
Mac, unbelievable career at Manhasset. You love the guy wearing that number 22 for the Indians of Manhasset. To the All-Metro second team midfielders, led by another Indian, Steven Schneider, senior midi, going to UNC. Jake Moss, out of the Pingree School, committed to Notre Dame. What a player. And Steady Eddie, a.k.a. Eddie Money, Eddie Munoz, the senior midi, staying home, going to Stony Brook from Ward Melville High School. But when you think about Schneider, the kid out of Manhasset, you know, there's a reason, Dylan, you're going to UNC. You're a full field, both sides of the field, midi, who can do it all.
Yeah, you talk about numbers. There's no more important number at Manhasset than number 32. And Schneider wore that, and he was a great example of leadership here. Powerful, smart, he had 36 goals, 25 assists, had the winner, 4 goals in the Woodstick, 3 goals and an assist in that win over Chaminade. He was all over their biggest wins of the year.
The overhand shot, that's right, DB. You get number 32 when you are the best player, the best leader, and the epitome of the game at Manhasset High School. Jake Moss at Pingree, Mike. Pingree has made a habit of going to the TOC with guys like Moss.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Moss is a kid. He's so big and strong and athletic. He scores, he passes. The thing is, early in the season, defenses were really loading up on him with the long pole, tried to keep him out of the cage. But, you know, state tournament game didn't matter. As guys got older and got better during the season, this kid was delivering.
And then Eddie Munoz. Dylan, if you score 3 goals in 34 seconds in the state final, in the game winner, it's amazing. But his whole career, he was just what Long Island's always been about, attack and deliver.
Well, in those first highlights, you saw him score against Smithtown East. He's the reason, the biggest reason they beat the Bulls on that day. What a great season, what a great career. Senior co-captain, 33 goals, 9 assists, and yes, 3 goals in 34 seconds late to let Ward Melville get to win that championship.
How about some of the specialty guys on this team? The LSM, the mini Taz, the Gooch, Tyler Cernercia at a Plain Edge High School. What a ride for this guy going to Bucknell. And then Angelo Petrakis, the super sophomore Fogo for the Chiefs of Massapequa. He gave everybody fits. The early commit to Lehigh. But Dylan, you went out to see Tyler in person, and you were a believer upon seeing him.
I mean, I saw his tape before this, and then I saw him in person, and absolutely I was. Look, don't just think because he plays for Plain Edge, he doesn't deserve to be on this team. He was the first player in the Long Island class of 2017 to commit to a college. He is just a ground ball machine. How about these numbers for you? 151 ground balls this year, 114 created turnovers, 3 goals as well. Gooch will go on to Bucknell.
Takeaways, full field, feet, vision. He made Papa Taz so proud. And then, of course, Petrakis.
This was such a tough choice because there's so many great face-off guys. But when you look at what Angelo did this year, 78% from the face-off X, and then in the biggest games of the year as well, 15 of 18. He had a goal and 11 ground balls in this win here against Farmingdale that gave Massapequa their first national championship in 3 years.
Yeah, the face-off position is a very difficult one to choose for an all-Metro team because as time has gone on here, such a specialized position. Guys are working literally 12 months a year on this, and so many different schools are presenting great face-off guys.
There's no doubt about it. It's funny how many years ago it used to be like one of the guys who wasn't really a midfielder used to face off.
Yeah, trying to find them.
Can you help us out face off a little bit? Now it is. You're right. It's such a specialized thing. It's such a talent thing, and I'll tell you what, it is a ride to college when you're a good face-off.
No doubt about it.
You know, it's like watching baseball 40 years ago. The closer, okay, yeah, come in. You know, now like Mariano Rivera, it's like you have a closer, you win championships.
Well, now you have a setup guy.
You have a play, but I mean, your face-off guy is your closer.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've chronicled Ward Melville, Eddie Munoz scoring 3 goals in 34 seconds. You know, Ward Melville is down 4 goals with a minute left in the state final. They win the game because their face-off guy, Giaquinto, wins 5 straight face-offs.
That's
you know, it's just it's an amazing thing. We continue on this 2017 All-Metro. And we go to the defense. Matty Douglas, Del Barton. Del Barton gives up a lot of low numbers. And the Lehigh-bound senior defender, a big reason why. Fearless Frankie Tangretti. Chaminade. What a ride for the senior from Chaminade to Harvard. And then the youngster, Brett Makar. He may be young as far as age and a junior, but this kid is a veteran, man. Been on the scene for a long time. The early Maryland commit, might be one of the best playmaking defenders Section 1 has ever seen, really New York State in Brett Makar. But we start with Douglas, Matty Douglas, and Mike, there's always that guy that gets number 1 for the Del Barton defense. Douglas is that guy. It's for a reason. He epitomizes everything a Delby Pole has to be. Position, takeaways, IQ, the whole package.
The whole package, and he is going to be covering the number 1 guy from the opposition, the best scorer. He's going to cover him. He's going to terrorize him throughout the game. He's going to take him to places he doesn't want to go. Matty Douglas is a kid, like you said, great feet, great disposition. More than anything, though, I love his stick in traffic. He's the kid who, he's got the great stick checks. You're not going to pass it freely. You're certainly not going to shoot it freely because his feet are going to get you to places. But when that ball's on the ground, he does such a great job in the scrum, coming up with it and starting transition. He's just a kid. Like, you want to look, why does Del Barton, why have they won 2 straight tournament champions? Look no further than Matty Douglas. His stability on defense is a reason.
And also look at the way he's a traffic cop as well, right? Just pointing positions out, making sure guys are in the right spots.
It's nice because the defensive position has become more of almost a glamour position. I mean, it's almost like, we make some references to other sports. 20 years ago, the running back position was such a glamour position. And now you see, like, offensive linemen have become a little more of a glamour position because people know how important they are in the big picture. And when you think about the big picture at Chaminade, you think about fearless Frankie Tangretti. And Frankie roaming it, heading off to Harvard. Look at the confidence this guy moves around with, Dylan Butler.
Tangretti is just a great student in the classroom. He's a great student on the lacrosse field. He led their defense just with tenacity, quick stick skills. He was also great. He got the green light to go forward, and he scored 4 goals, and he had 6 assists while being their best on-ball defender.
Tangretti is a second-team All-Metro. Now we go to Y-Town, Yorktown, and Brett Makar wearing that number 19. Dylan, you saw him in person, and he's one of those guys that brings the wow factor on the field.
Absolutely does. I mean, look, you can see him on ball, how tenacious he is there, just chasing his defender, but also the same is true just with ground balls. When he sees the ball on the turf, it is personal. He has to get that ball. There's no question about it. and that rubs off, I think, on the other guys who have poles as well.
Yeah, people in Section 1 who have watched Brett Makar, playmaker, he could pick it up, he could stick it in the back of the cage. Endless potential for the Maryland-bound Brett Makar. So now we get to the cage for the guys who play in front of the keeper. And when you think about the keeper position for 2017, second team All-Metro, wow, this is an amazing theme we'll have with goalies on this show. A little on that later. But Drew Morris, New Canaan High School, hey, back-to-back Connecticut State Championships, burst upon the scene as a sophomore, committed to Maryland. Enough said right there, Dylan Butler. But we've always been impressed for what Drew Morris stands for as a goalie.
Listen, he's also a rare guy. He's a two-sport All-Metro guy. He was one of my hockey defenders as well this year. And there you see, playing that position like a hockey goalie there with that kick save, the agility, his ability to read the shots in traffic, just a leader. And he plays with that toughness, too, that you need from a hockey defenseman.
Yeah, you love the hockey aspect of Drew Morris because this guy had a lot of choices in life. You know what I mean? He's that good in hockey, and just, you know, that explosive, smart hockey athlete, brings it over to lacrosse. And a Chip Buzzio is, you know, he will not sleep as well. Okay, I just want to say next winter, in the months leading up to the start of lacrosse, because when you have one of those 3-year starters, Mike Kinney, like Drew Morris, it just, you feel as a coach like, all right, we have that satisfied. Let's think about the rest of the positions on the field.
No doubt about it. And also, obviously, it affects the guys who are going to be the poles, too, and the LSM, because those guys can take chances. Those guys can get out and be more aggressive when you've got a kid who can sit in a cage like that, read those shots, stop the ball.
Yeah.
So glad to have you on board here for this 2017 All-Metro Boys Lacrosse Show right here on News 12 Varsity. We'll step aside just for a minute. The second team is done. Straight ahead, All-Metro, first team.
You watch because it's your home, your school, your team, because it's your brother, sister, daughter, and son. Because you love the "can you believe it, did you see that?" and the "oh my goodness, what a win" moments. So yeah, you watch. Never miss a moment. Download the News 12 Varsity app today.
It's the end of the rainbow on another high school lacrosse season right here on News 12 Varsity, our 2017 Tri-State All-Metro team. So the second team is in the books. First team to come in is second. But remember, tonight, right now on News12Varsity.com, you can check out the honorable mention selections. Another very difficult list to make, all kinds of ballers on that. Go to News12Varsity.com right now for a full list of our 2017 honorable mention inductees for this high school lacrosse season. We continue now and we go to the first team. Here it is, your first team for 2017 Tri-State Boys Lacrosse, and we start on the attack line. Back to New Jersey we go. Mac Bradle, Chatham High School, is a junior bound. V for Villanova, V for victory. Bradle, look at that balance, Mike Kinney, on this young man.
This kid is energy personified. I tell you what, he spends a lot of time back at X just absolutely making defenders and goalies shake, because he's such a friend to the other guys, Thomas Berger and Connor Bird and those guys, because he does a great job of finding them. But as you see here, he can dodge his way to the cage, there's no doubt about it. If he spots the short stick, forget about it. But even against the pole, he's so quick that he's going to find himself open. Such great balance, 47 goals, 46 assists. He was such an offensive presence for Chatham. I mean, I really believe they were upset in the state tournament this year by Ramapo. But I really believe that they were going to go all the way, and he was a large reason why. I mean, he was a kid. They only lost to Del Barton twice. He was a kid who, game after game, was going to figure out ways to get the ball.
That's a beautiful number of assists for an attacker like that. And you know what that tells you is Guys like to play with Bradle. You know what I mean? Because you just know when a guy has nearly 50 assists to go along with nearly 50 goals, he's playing with his head on a swivel, with his eyes wide open, and he values where the ball goes.
Those guys learn how to move off the ball because they know if they do, they're open for just a glimmer of a second. He's going to find them.
Boy, there are some real, as Dylan Butler likes to say, movie stars on this first team. And as we continue, straight out of Stone Cold Spring Harbor, Ian Laviano. Dylan, a 5-year varsity starter, going to Virginia. Look at those ridiculous numbers, over 100 points this year. Laviano was a guy the 3-time defending New York State champs could count on in every big spot.
Listen, Laviano could only play the game one way. That's at 100 miles an hour, full tilt, aggression personified. This guy, you see the goals that he scores, right? And that's where we get a lot of the highlights. His ride was ridiculous as well. He's a hockey guy, so Dennis Bond said he was the leader of the team in penalties, but he was fine with that because most of them were coming off the ride.
It's one of the best things we heard from a coach all year. I was good with his penalty minutes, Ian Laviano, because the yield off of that ride was a whole lot of turnovers.
Absolutely.
And sometimes, you know, hey, let's face it, sometimes to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs.
I never do break an egg.
Laviano, congratulations. Staying
Yes.
on Long Island with this group. And when you think about gamers, when you think about guys who are going to stick their nose in there when the game is on the line, Chris Gray was that guy for Shoreham-Wading River. Led Long Island in total points. This is for a county championship team. I mean, these are not devalued goals at the back end of a game. Committed to Boston University. I mean, Gray, Dylan, we saw it time and time again. When the games got tight, Chris Gray emerged.
Yeah, you speak to their coach, Mike Taylor. He calls him a once-in-a-lifetime player. He always found a way to have an impact on every game he played. He's humble. He's driven. You mentioned leading the island in points. Second straight year for doing that. And he also had 6 goals in the Suffolk C final, so he scores in the biggest of games as well.
Gray from Shoreham-Wading River is first-team All-Metro. And now we go to the state of Connecticut. And Kevin Lindley heading off to Loyola. You know, we always love when guys have 100-goal careers. Lindley had 106 goals in his senior season. Are you kidding me? Dylan, 134 points. I mean, it's amazing. When you think about Darien going 46-0 in the last 2 years, winning 54 in a row, they just have everything you want at every phase of the field. Lindley is a pure finisher, a finisher's finisher.
Yeah, the first thing we knew about him, I think, was that we knew that he had great lacrosse DNA, right? From his mom, that awesome coach.
The legend, Lisa Lindley.
But he has followed that up as well, just proving what he has on the field, scoring in so many different ways. Such a big part, obviously, of what Darien has done. Not just this year, though. For the past several years as well.
He's like a thinking man scorer, too. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen enough of Kevin Lindley to see that, you know, he's not just one of those guys that just catches and aimlessly fires at the goalie. He's always got a couple of fakes. Listen, what do they always say? Move the goalie. He gets the goalie to move. That's how you score 106 goals.
The FCAC has also seen enough of him.
In the season. Yeah, I believe the entire FCAC will be at the graduation and be like, Lindley, good luck, buddy. Go get him at Loyola. We have seen enough. Well, from a sniper in the nutmeg state of Connecticut, we go back over to Strong Island. And listen, how many times do we talk about a team playing Smithtown East and the coach tells us who's going to cover Connor DeSimone? He's that good, Dylan Butler. So good, he was a first-team All-Metro last year, heading to Hopkins, over 100 points in his senior year.
Yeah, look, DeSimone is just a wizard with the ball in his stick. He didn't, though, just show the glitz, and we saw those numbers, gaudy numbers, 114 total points. What impressed me most about him was that when they needed it the most, he showed some grit as well. You remember that game against Smithtown West, the fog coming over at Islip High School? He picks up a huge ground ball late in that game, deep in his defensive third of the field. That shows that he is a winner, and he will certainly go on and do some great things at Johns Hopkins University.
And it is an amazing accomplishment because we started this show by prefacing it by saying how difficult of a process it is to make a second team, a first team, an honorable mention. You know, DeSimone made this team last year.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's just a tremendous accomplishment.
But he showed. I think he showed. For me, he showed me even more this year. Just again with that other side of the ball, and he became more of a thinking. You mentioned the thinking man's scorer. He kind of became more of that this year too, where they knew that they couldn't just run and gun. You know, he played varsity lacrosse for 4 years, so he kind of he used that smarts and that veteran leadership this year late in games.
And I think sometimes people think that when you make a team as an underclassman that you're auto in for the next year.
No.
That, you know, maybe through the years with all counties and that kind of stuff. But, you know, you still have to earn it, okay, to get all Metro first team the next year. Because we're holding you to the standard as a junior, Connor DeSimone. He not only had to hold up to that standard, he had to add a little something. He did.
Yeah.
He did. He did. We continue on this all Metro first team midfield. Colin Crowley. Mike, Del Barton, it's like when you walk through the door,